Okay, hello everyone. Yeah, we're live. Okay, cool. Let's go. So, welcome. I'm Anna Johansson. I'm here with Melanie. We're both Access Consciousness certified facilitators, and we're here for a conversation on being the leader in your life. So, let's see here. It seems like we're up, it's running.
I am just in the group right now, looking
Cool.
for
Yeah.
it. Are you in your group?
I'm not in the group, but I can see the Facebook Live page, so it seems like
I
it's
mean,
working.
did you go live? Ah, there it is.
Yeah, so it's like on my page, so
Just
not
found it. Thank you.
cool.
So like, I can also like help watch for comments if you guys want to add to the conversation or have any questions. Thank you so much for having me for conversation, Anna.
I'm so excited for this. So what is like leading up for this is that I'm having a call on the 14th of January that will be on just like a different take on leadership. So that class is called Leading People into Greatness. And so it
Beautiful.
just pinged before that class to that I wanted to have this conversation with Melanie, and I'm so grateful that you were so excited for that as well. And just this how I'm so excited every time like starting to create with an energy in the universe. It brings so much awareness by just opening up that door and receiving all of that information. So we have not really spoken so much before what to talk about now, but uh, we have like sent a bit of like different quotes popping up and just some different like, oh, did you think about this thing? It's like, wow, right. So this is what we would like to invite also you guys that is watching here today or also in the future on this recording afterwards, for just like a different way of looking at what does it actually mean to be a leader, and what if that is something completely different from what we maybe have learned from the past. What if that is not even about leading others, but actually leading yourself? And while leading yourself, you're an invitation for others to also choose something that works for them. So,
That is
Melanie.
beautiful. I'm just like mesmerized watching, listening to you.
Amazing. Yeah. Well, just like this day has been quite interesting for me, like, and maybe actually a perspective to start in, because um, I like to feel good. That is like, I really like to feel good. And when I don't feel good, I do almost everything I can to feel good because it's much more fun. Not for any other reason than that it's more fun and more enjoyable to have that experience. And today has been one of those days when it has not been so fun. And I realized that I started to look so much into other people's realities and starting to even make other people the problem for what I was experiencing. And what I got from this now, like leading up to be here tonight, was really this of when I'm not choosing to be the leader in my own life, I make others the problems, and I become the victim to my circumstance instead of showing up for something different and actually taking the lead to do a different choice. So this was really interesting for me to see this of like when not being the leader, that is like where I turn to, like I'm not feeling good, I'm focusing on everyone else. And when I actually choose to be in the power of myself, I can be there. I can have fun just for the enjoyment.
That is beautiful. What an amazing, like, powerful awareness.
Yeah, well, yeah, and I'm grateful for that now. Like when I was in that, like for an hour ago, it was like, this is shit. And even like, oh, I'm gonna sit here and talk about being a leader. And right now I'm like really not feeling like a leader. But this is really something where I start to see like every time I feel that way, that is an invitation. It's not that I'm wrong, it's actually an invitation to even more in that specific area to step up and be the leader.
Absolutely. Yeah, oftentimes I think people have this idea like if you're a leader, you always know exactly what to do. Like it's like this state of enlightenment, right? Things don't happen and you don't get stuck in things and you don't ever make yourself wrong and go into other people's worlds and do all that. But I think just what you said, so much of being a leader to me and a leader in your own life is the willingness to not judge you when you are in those spaces and look for the gift and get every single situation, every energy that's up can facilitate us to something greater. Awareness. Like everything can give us awareness.
Yeah.
And it's such a different point of view. It's like this radical self-responsibility, and responsibility not in the kind of the way this reality tends to use it, but the ability to respond, right? Not respond in the right way, but actually respond in a way that works for you. And you're actually present in your own world. Not just as you said, looking to blame everyone else and situations and either make you wrong or them wrong. But to actually, and we both facilitate access consciousness tools. We talk a lot about living as the question. Like, thank goodness for the tools.
Yeah, exactly. And that is really like where this thing of like living in 10 seconds, like every moment I have a new choice. Like it's so easy to look at like, oh, I'm gonna reach enlightenment. Oh, I'm gonna be the most conscious person and everything will be all right and I will be happy all the time. What if it's not about that? What if it's about this continuous choosing? Like, okay, I'm happy now. Great. Oh, I was a bit less happy. Okay, what can I choose to be more of what I would like to experience? So I find that that's so also comforting, almost like it gets so much more allowance of everything that's going on. Like I don't have to get it right. I don't have to be perfect. I can just continue to show up for myself and then be the leader in my own life.
And exactly. And just as you said to start it off, when people see that, they realize that they can actually choose for them too. That they can actually be the leader in their life. One of the things we talk about in access consciousness is you can't change anyone, but you can inspire them. You can't tell somebody something. Believe me, if you could, I would have been able to do it by now. Because almost my entire life to point things out to people and show them the way, right? And I'm like, wow, you can't. It really doesn't. You've got to inspire people by living it. And people see it, and it might take years of people watching you choose different, and they might even judge you, early on. And all the things that are stopping themselves, the way the judgments that they're using to stop themselves, they will come up and they'll project it at you. So, and get also being a leader in your life is the willingness to make choices that are true for you. Choose things that you have to choose for yourself, no matter if anyone gets it, no matter if people are judging you for it. And it can be a lot of energy.
Yeah, well, that's so beautiful, Melanie. And like this really of it doesn't really matter what other people think what you're doing. Like that is really like I would say like for me that has been, I've heard that before and I have not really understood it until now, like the last couple of months, when I choose more to show up with what I'm doing, with what I'm choosing, and be like, hey, this is actually something that I find valuable and I'm going to do my thing right now and try that out. And now it's like I realize it's like more it has not been so much direct towards me, but yeah, I've been really like hearing like way through another like judgments about what I'm doing. And I'm almost like, wow, that's so interesting. I'm actually like, when I'm just being a light in my own world and just having fun, it actually brings something up in other people's worlds. And that's just, it's all right. Like it has nothing to do with me. And if I would go to every time that someone thinks something about me, I have to stop. I will not create my life. So that is real, like, yeah.
That is so huge right there. And it's so true. And, that was something I practiced for a long time, was actually stopping my life to avoid judgment. It's been a massive theme, but yeah, you really nailed it right there. If we are constantly doing that, if we have to respond to every judgment and adjust ourselves, we literally will never create our lives.
Mm.
And constantly be in judgment. At least that was what was true for me, constantly in judgment of, I know something different is possible, yet I'm not choosing it. And knowing both were true, knowing that I knew and also knowing I was actively not choosing it. It's like, holy moly. And does that make you not a leader in your own life? It doesn't. It doesn't make you not a leader in your own life. It's a stop, but, and it keeps going back. There's like this energy of so many definitions of what we think a leader is and how we separate ourselves from it. And how that point of view of I'm not a leader because I'm not doing this and I'm not doing this and I'm not doing this is actually a place where we completely disempower ourselves and realize even if you are a leader, it, as you said before, it doesn't mean things are always going great or the way you would like them. And being a leader also doesn't mean that everything goes the way you'd like it to.
No.
And that has been a big one for me. I'm like, but I like things the way I like things. It's supposed to look like that because that's my vision. And it's like, oh no. So to me, also being a leader in my life is the willingness to let go of like my fixed points of view about how I think things have to be.
Yeah, wow. There's been so many profound things, like just in 10 minutes. I really want to go back and listen to this myself, actually. It's very nice.
Yeah. And it's interesting too, for me, when I would do a video or, an interview or whatever, I would really avoid going and listening afterwards. Like I would start to go into this intensity of like how wrong I was. And it turns out the ones that were really things that I needed to hear were the ones I went into judgment of the most. And I would make myself go back and listen. And something that we often also don't do so often is celebrate and acknowledge ourselves. Like, is it actually okay to go back and listen to an interview or a conversation that you had and be like, oh my God, it was so fucking brilliant.
It's so beautiful. Exactly. Like real, like celebrating, like, yeah, I'm actually quite brilliant. And those words is like, where do you hear that? Like, where do you hear someone say like, I'm good? Then it's like, the only way is like, oh, you're selfish, you're a narcissist, like it's like, you're not supposed to do that. But what if it's actually a way of like, hey, like just acknowledging like, hey, I'm in this world. I'm actually a gift just by being here. And that's all right.
I love that. I'm in this world. I'm a gift. And it's so often I know for myself, one thing that I have become aware in terms of being a leader in my own life is I work so hard to get other people to receive the gift of me, as if that was the thing that was going to validate and prove I'm really a gift. And as it turns out, the things that I most desire and that I most require in my life are things I can actually be with myself by receiving the gift that I am.
Wow.
It's like I created myself especially to be exactly the perfect combination, which doesn't always look perfect, right? But it's my whatever magical concoction of Melanie. Yeah. That if I were to, when I actually receive the gift of me and gift to myself what it is that I know and I'm capable of and that I shove onto others sometimes or have a lot of my life, that it opens up such an incredible space. And like, oh, maybe being in the gift that I am, it isn't about like giving it to other people. It's the willingness to allow it to be seen, to be chosen, but to receive.
Yeah, wow. So yeah, and when you said, so what does it mean for you to be a leader in your life? What is that for you?
So I've been looking at this since we chose the topic. And it's interesting, it keeps kind of floating around in my world. But I think for the most part, being a leader in my own life is really about the willingness to be totally honest with myself about what's true for me. Having the willingness to be honest about what that is, to know that I know, even if no one else on the planet knows, and choose toward it, no matter what. And no matter if anyone else gets it and anyone's coming with me, but the willingness to know that I know and to choose toward it no matter what.
Wow, that's so beautiful.
How about for you, Anna? What is being a leader in your life to you?
Yeah, I would say I don't have like a very clear answer. Like even when asking also this question, it has not been like so clear for me yet. But what has shown up is this of being more and more willing to see what it is that I actually want, to allow myself to have my own desire. Yeah, I've seen so much how I rather go with the one who has the strongest opinion. Yeah, and it's not really, I would say, like now the more I'm starting to respect myself and the more I start to see how much more fun it is to lead my own life, it starts to become very, very frustrating when I see that I do the thing of following the most strong opinion. So I would say that is like the exploration that this is for me right now, of like, okay, if I'm actually allowing myself to see what I desire, what I would like to create, and what I uniquely know in the world, just for me, just for fun, and being with that, that is what creates something so much different and lets my life be very, very much more fun.
Wow. Yes, I love that. Yeah, it's amazing how uncomfortable it is, intense and intense to attempt to live what's true for other people. You know, there's a funny story that I have from many years ago. I think I was, oh my gosh, I don't know, 31, something like that. Anyway, I guess I'm 46 now. So put that into context. But I was married. I was living in the Czech Republic, and I had come back to the United States. My husband was Czech, ex-husband. And I had come to work and like make some money to pay off some past expenditures. And I was so unhappy in the Czech Republic. Like the relationship wasn't something that was really working for me. It was like I was choosing everything based on everyone else's desire of how I fit into their life, because I really wasn't creating a life of my own. So I was supposed to fly back to the Czech Republic the next day. I was at a girlfriend's house who's always been like such an amazing friend. And I'm in these purple pajamas. I'll never forget it. Purple pajamas. And I'm in there, I'm like, Courtney, like, I just don't know what to do. And I was literally not willing to like make a choice. And I was pulled. I was like, this is what he wants, and that's what they want. Da, da, da. And she said, Melanie, who is the driver in your life? Who's in the driver's seat in your life? And I literally stopped in the doorway of her kitchen. I remember it so clearly. And I looked down at my purple pajamas and I was like, oh my God. The only thing I knew was not me. I'm not in the driver's seat. I'm like, there are a lot of different people and energies and points of view sitting in the driver's seat of my life. And so since then, over all of these years, periodically I come back to that question. Melanie, who's driving your life? Who's on the driver's seat of your life? Is it you? And I'm like, I don't have to know exactly who it is usually or what it is, but just getting the sense of like, wow, okay, not me. And then follow with the question of, okay, what if you were? And are you willing to be? Like, wow. And so often those energies have come up most dynamically for me when I'm about to make a big choice that other people are not necessarily going to like, or goes against what people have concluded, decided, the roles I play for them, people's comfort level.
Exactly. Wow, that is so, yeah, thank you for sharing that, and thank you for that question. Exactly, like who's in the driver's seat, who's driving here. And like at one point it gets to, when being into an experience and gets to that point, like when it's not fun any longer to just go along, when it's actually like, okay, I would actually like to drive my own experience here. Yeah.
Absolutely. Because it's disorienting. Like I was like acting confused, and really I was not willing to be honest with myself. You know, this, I do not want to go back to the Czech Republic. I'm so unhappy there. The way I'm living is not working. So I had to get willing to actually disrupt everything, to change future plans, to disrupt multiple people's lives. And I had totally been unwilling to be aware of all of that. Because once I'm aware, once I get this isn't working, once I own it and acknowledge it, I have to do something. So I was working really hard to hide it from myself. But if I was actually in the driver's seat, I'd have to be like, this is what's true.
Yeah.
So that was for me a really wonderful way that I used to avoid.
So what are some of the ways there that made it easier for you to be honest with yourself and go on that path?
Well, honestly, it just got so bad. It didn't like, and her question really, like I was distraught. I was spinning, and that isn't something I'm used to being in. But it was completely spinning, and for her to just bring it into and it was really that question, who is the driver, and recognizing it isn't me. And it wasn't easy. Like, but there was more space in my world, and there wasn't the spinning, even though, like, talking to my husband on the phone and being like, I'm not coming home tomorrow. That was a difficult conversation. I had to let him be upset. I had to let him be angry with me. So it was also just the willingness to allow everyone to go through whatever they are going to go through, and to just stand and just be in my world with, this is what I have to choose. And I'm so sorry if this messes up your life. Just be there. But it took a lot. But honestly, it did take me getting to the point of like, I am so compressed and pulled in so many different directions, trying to avoid this, that I can't stand it anymore. I can't even walk forward. And over the years, I haven't had to get to, sometimes it depends on how tightly I'm holding on to that old way. But what if it's okay? What if it just takes what it takes? And the thing that's making it easier and easier for me is to choose not to judge me or make me wrong in the face of any of it, but increasing my allowance, where everything that I choose and I do and I think is just an interesting point of view. I think that's been the most difficult tool. And it's one that I'm still constantly getting more of and working on. But as long as I was going to judge myself and annihilate myself for whatever it was, which I was really, really good at, like, of course I'm not going to let myself be aware. Of course I can't have more ease with this. So the more that I've been able to let go of judging me for whatever it is or whoever I am, because I literally was like, I don't like that. and I would will myself to be different, which would mean I had to exclude me. And like you said, pull in other people to do a vicarious living through. Right? Like, OMG. And we use this incredible capacity of awareness, we use it against us. Like, we're really great at going into other people's worlds. We can live there forever, and a lot of people do. But
Yeah,
it takes a lot of courage.
exactly. Like, well, I really liked what you said, this of like that this thing of like really not judging yourself for even like where you were or what was going on, or because that can be like really like when shining a light on something that we have not been willing to do, that can be so confronting, and it can really be so confronting.
And it usually is. And it's so interesting. And I think sometimes people will hear this conversation, and for those of you who are listening to this now or in the future, you know, what has it been like for you? But it takes a willingness to have a vulnerability with yourself and to be with the uncomfort, to be in that space where we want to avoid being that, like, because sometimes it can be like sandpaper. So often people hear this like, oh, you're choosing allowance, that doesn't come up for you. No, it does all the time. I'm so highly tuned now to where, like, I've got my feelers out for the judgments and the wrongness. So that means it can get really big and seem like I'm more wrong than ever. That's the feeling. But really just kidding. No, I'm asking to change this. And so now those energies are presenting themselves and I can see it everywhere. So I just want to, like, for everyone listening, when you choose this, just know it might seem like it gets worse or get bigger when it isn't. It's still the same amount of what's the wrongness or the judgment or the avoidance that's been going on. But because you've asked to be aware of it, oh, it seems like someone just turned the lights on and you're like, oh my gosh. Like, and it can seem like you're in a sea of it. And it's like, what if that's totally normal? Completely. Like, what if that's just part of the process? Some people are like, oh, it just disappears. Like, that hasn't been my experience. I call it getting in the mix. All of a sudden, like, oh, wow. And I have to make different choices, real time. I have the awareness, and then I have to make different choices in the spaces and places where I was not willing before. So the universe is like, oh, honey, you want something different? Awesome. Here are all the places you're choosing wrongness and giving yourself up. And it's a gift, right? The universe is like, here you go, honey. And we're like, oh my God. Wait a second. I didn't realize there was this much. What do I do now? And it's like, and I love what Gary Douglas, founder of Access, is never give up, never give in, and never quit. And that for me is when, as a leader in my own life, I phone a friend. I reach out to another Access facilitator and I'm like, will you ask me some questions? And to me, also being a leader in my life is knowing where I can facilitate myself and also knowing where I actually require someone else to ask questions and be a space with me.
It's so beautiful to hear you talk. And it's really, yeah, like how even like what if it's even this of like when it feels really bad is because it's so not true for you. Yes. So what if that is not that it's wrong or you are wrong, especially not that you are wrong, you're just very aware of something that is not fun for you any longer. And that is the invitation to change something if you want to. So, yeah. And that is really this again, this of being the leader. If you want to, you don't have to. Like, it's your life. You can choose anything. And that's all right.
I love that. And that's part of the allowance is like, am I willing to change this right now? No.
Yeah.
Okay. well, I can fight it, resist it, or I can just like really indulge. And what if it's not wrong? Like, cool, I'm choosing this right now. What would it take to enjoy it? I'm giving myself up here. Okay. Am I willing to change it right now? No. All right. Oh my
Yes,
gosh. Yeah.
even be this stuff like sometimes when looking at something and going at it with force, like, oh, I have to change this. It's like, yeah, you can change it, but what if it's much easier to come to the allowance, be like, okay, it's here, it's all right. And now I see it and I can trust myself so much. I can allow myself to be the leader that I know that I will change it when it's time.
Yes, absolutely. Well, and giving yourself that space, when you take the judgment off, it doesn't have the charge, the good and bad, right and wrong that is holding it in place. I think so often we've learned to just to push and use our judgment as a hammer, right? We're taught that in this world, right? Rather than like, oh, that actually holds it in place even more when I can be that space of allowance. So oftentimes when I'm like, am I willing to change this? I'm like, wow, I get a no. I can allow for that, but usually pretty soon I'm like, like there's something in me that's like, all right, like, okay, it's time, I'm ready to choose something different now. But that allowance is what facilitates that, which is so, it seems like, it's one of those holding two things at once. If you really desire to change something, let go of the need and the right and wrong of changing it. And then you actually have the choice for something different.
Yes. Yes, when you stand there in the middle of it, it's like seems like so almost counterintuitive. Like, why should I just let it go? But it's like even the process of letting it go is what will change it. So yeah, how much trust is possible to invite, and if you were truly trusting yourself and inviting what that would be for you, you who are listening, how would that change your life?
Oh my goodness. Wow. I'm wondering if anyone who is watching live right now has any comments or questions.
Yeah. Can you, I don't know if I see them live, so can you see if someone...
Hold up on my phone. Sometimes Facebook shows me, sometimes it doesn't. So if you are writing something, it sometimes takes a few minutes. So I'm curious, Anna, for you, it's in choosing this topic in the class you're going to facilitate. Like, I know whenever I choose a topic, like it really comes up in my world, just like you were describing at the beginning. So what are some of your favorite tools when you're stepping in to more, when you're stepping in to your greatness and being a leader in your life? What are some of your go-to tools?
Wow. I would say to relax. That is a big one, like do whatever it takes to come to a place of being relaxed. Because it's really like when going to this thinking thing and trying to think out how to create my life, it doesn't be very good. So that's really like to, okay, see that I want to make a different choice and then be like, okay, I choose to step into this, like really the choice of like, I want something different here. Okay, do I have the exact next step? No, not really. So if I just relax into it, will it be more, it will be more obvious in a way. So yeah, so like relaxation is a really big one for me to allow myself to have my own reality and start to get to what it is that I want. So that would be maybe like one other tool to be like, okay, what is it that I desire here? What is my desire? If I were, I would really incorporate your like being in the driver's seat. Like if I were in the driver's seat here, what would I choose?
That's a great question.
So it's really this of like getting more awareness and then being in trust that it will work out. And that is a muscle. It's really like trusting is a muscle. It's just like to trust, and it's like, oh, it worked out. Okay, well, I died this time. Oh, I didn't die. Cool. Maybe next time it will work as well. So, and then at one point it's like, it gets so much more easier and easier and more allowance.
I mean, we've practiced most of our lives not trusting us and not ever even asking ourselves, what's true for me? What would I like to create? If I could literally create anything in my life living and future, like what would it be? You know, we're so taught to look around. Like I worked in elementary schools, you know, for a couple of years with kids with special needs. And one of the things they actually teach you to do is teach the child to look around at the other students for what to do next. So then they learn to follow. Because the most important thing in that school system was for them to be able to be integrated and be just like the other kids without any disturbances. So teach them what to do. Look at your classmates and see what they're doing. And just, even if it's not relevant to you or you don't understand what it is, just follow along. So at least it looks like you are participating.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, when you say, I'm like, how much have I created my life to be to what it looks like to be good? It's, I mean, it's crazy, like how we're really taught to be that. And but it's such a gift to step out of it, even if it's really uncomfortable, and mostly uncomfortable in other people's worlds, because when you choose to step out of it, they have to see where they are not stepping out. So it brings
such a great point. It really does. It's confronting for you to choose, but you're right. It is confronting for others who are like, wow. And often it's easier to judge and separate.
Yeah.
And even like, you know, you choosing this conversation in this class and every one of you that's watching this, like to get how different you really are. Because if you're listening to this, it sounds like, you know, maybe you're more of a leader in your life and maybe you've been acknowledging so far. And that maybe even have more bravery and courage than you have ever imagined.
So yeah, and what would it be like to give up everything we thought a leader was and starting to be like, what is a leader for me? If I were truly the leader in my own life here, what would I choose? What do I know? And if being a leader is something very different for me than from what this world is defining it as, I really wonder what is possible to create.
That's a beautiful question. Wow. Well, I don't have any comments that I'm seeing. Wow. Thank you for sharing your beautiful gift and brilliance. Like, I always really love hearing your awarenesses, and, you know, the way that you express is such an invitation.
Likewise, Melanie, like that's really why I wanted to have this conversation with you, because it's just, yeah, it just sparkles up new things in the universe when every time I speak with you. So maybe it's also doing that for someone else who's listening as well.
Yes. Well, just as like a little piece that just popped in was like, so often I've been asking to be more inclusive, right? To really like who and what else can I include and include and include. And just getting us like, wow, and I'm really willing to be the leader in my life. Oh, yay. Joanna, you're welcome. When I'm really willing to be the leader in my life and include all of me and my gifts, talents, and abilities, I actually naturally include others. Like it's so much easier. Like as long as I am excluding me and not truly being the leader in my life, I can't truly include others.
Wow. Ah.
Like, wow.
Yeah, that's everything. Like truly, wow, of course. Really, that really like brings a beautiful Exactly. Yeah. Because if I'm not showing up, like even this of like being the invitation, like sometimes it can be almost scary. Like even for me, like every time like doing a thing like this, it's like, am I gonna do it? Okay, I'm gonna do it this time too. and
Yes.
and that is really like sometimes I don't get like why someone else would be even interested, but then I get this more and more, like if I'm interested in this and if I do it for myself, like now it's really like it's almost a bit selfish, like I want to have a conversation with you because I want to. And then be like, hey, I can actually invite others to that because they might be interested as well. And if they don't, it's all right because I get the gift here. But I'm also like, when I include that, for me it's so much more easier to also include others and be like, hey, this is something if you want to, and if you don't, it's all right.
Exactly. I mean, what a relief to be like, well, I'm going to go. Like,
Yeah.
I'm super enthusiastic about this. Here I go, and you're so welcome to come. But it takes out all the places where we have to disempower ourselves, separate from ourselves. It's like, no, like that doesn't actually work the way we think it's. This does not do what we think it's supposed to be doing. To really go, and then we're like, hey, yes, come play. Like, oh, that was beautiful. How does it get even better?
Woo, amazing. So grateful. Yeah, wonderful. Where can they find you, Melanie?
Well, you can find me on Instagram, Melanie Clampit. If you want to check out my website, it's we'll put a link somewhere in here. But it's Hard Wellness. You can find me on Facebook. Mhm.
Amazing. Yeah, so cool. And yeah, so if you who listen got something out of this conversation, if it maybe did it spark something in you? Maybe it got something more to explore in your life, what it means to trust yourself, to show up and have more fun just because you can. I'll have another deep dive on the 14th of January. You're so welcome. And yeah, in the comment there will be a link for this, and let's continue to explore.
Beautiful. Thank you, Anna.
Thank you so much, and see you next time.
Hey, everybody.